Hello, humans, and welcome to Audioface, an irreverent podcast about music news and culture that mostly matters. I am Sean,
I am Dan.
and this is episode 278 of this fine established
Bastard.
podcast.
you,
right.
you usually stay to find established podcast, and I'm usually the one most likely to verbally abuse the sanctity of the podcast. So, that being said, I convinced him to do 278 of these. Plus, at this point, we're definitely over 300. So, anyways,
Right.
not gonna slow
Anyways,
you.
we got three albums for you, even an album. Today we've got Sundial by Noname, we got Volcano by Jungle, and we have Still Emo by Emotional Oranges. This
Emo
summer
Alley represent.
just holy shit. This a swirl of memories just came in there. So that's,
every once in a while, Anna C, not Anna K. Anna C. We talk about our emo alley times. I won't necessarily say great times, but great times. Anyways, but yeah, what were you saying about the summer?
Oh no, like this summer just keeps throwing it down, man. So much music, so little time.
Yeah, I don't feel we don't have the time for a longer conversation about this, and we haven't even had this off camera yet, but I don't feel like this summer has a song of the summer, really. That being said, we do have very good albums, like we said, very good music coming out throughout the summer. This has like been one of the past like maybe 3 weeks now at this point where like I really don't extremely dislike anything. So, it's fun. We have some music news to get to a little bit later in the show, including a little bit, just a little bit of banter on Olivia Rodrigo and Ice Spice being the only pop stars to come out of the 2020s, which I find to be a yoke. not Sean's favorite steering device, a yoke, but a joke. That's what I'm trying to say. But Republican candidate Vivek Ramaswamy losing himself to Eminem. It's fun for the whole family, and by that I mean if I have to suffer, y'all do too. And our arbitrary scale this week, as we do every week on Audioface, is going to be related to another news story we have later on, which it turns out you've heard of the PPP loans, the triple P loans that a lot of people stole, essentially. Government money. Oh yeah, pushing P, real talk. But it turns out a lot of musicians were pushing government-backed loans during COVID under questionable pretenses, let's say. So, we report, you decide, or we report other people who have reported, and then you decide. That's going to be all up next later on Audioface. But first off, and I will warn you that we're going to be reviewing my wife next, so you're not allowed to criticize her. I'm just kidding. But yeah, let's go into my first album. I got a lot of thoughts.
This is gonna be one of those Dan take the wheel. First album review of the day. Sorry, no Gary's way mean. We have Sundial by Noname. 11 songs, 31 minutes long. Noname, just absolute wonderful rapper that we literally have the Noname Woke Award because, it was a Vince Staples Woke Award, and then we had to rename it because, Noname's just fucking hitting bars and bars and bars. And
yeah, we don't. To be fair, we have a lot of Audioface awards that, especially the noted Little Bitch Award, where the winner of said esteemed award usually gets to be the namesake of them. The Noname Woke Award is one of those rare ones, again, much like the Vince Staples Woke Award, where in the 7-ish years of Audioface, we've only changed that twice. Again, Vince Staples and Noname, very deservedly so in that case.
Yes, exactly. So, we reviewed Room 25, and was that really her last record?
Yeah, she has been...
Because I know there's been like some EPs and other things that we've done.
Oh yeah, because we reviewed, of course, like one of my favorite rap beefs we've ever done on the podcast, Song 33, which was during 2020, it was during COVID, where Noname, like, out of nowhere with a folding chair, pun withheld, came for J. Cole. and his comments on the Black Lives Matter protests, his commentary on a lot of things that were
so
happening
funny.
in politics in 2020. And I was literally just like, oh, Noname off the top ropes. And, you know, J. Cole is not necessarily the biggest fight in a rap beef. He's probably the most likely in a rap beef to say that his opponent won in the rap beef. We saw him do we even called it the J. Cole, when you make a big point about a rap artist and then you like turn back on that point because you again, like, you have change of opinion. But he made a big point about SoundCloud rappers like Lil Pump and all those other different things, and then not double down, but reverse his opinion on that. Anyways, Noname killed in that context. She is known as a not necessarily like a new school rapper, although she is like, newer-ish, as in like popping up in the mid 2010s. But she doesn't fall into the SoundCloud trap style of things. She's very much of her own kind, maybe doing a little bit of homage to the older conscious rap kind of style within rap music. And so because of that, everything she's done, and remember we viewed Rainforest's single, we talked about Song 33, we talked about Song 32. I was thinking about one of my favorite songs, Blaxploitation by Noname, that was on the previous album. And she's really good at packing in like Audioface level politics and commentary and doing all those things together in an album. So you get Sundial, which I will figure out my like broader thoughts about in a minute. I will just say that like Noname is another one of those artists, much like Tucky Monster. Maybe we could talk about this far at the end of the review. But she's just like, I hate the cycle. I hate the premise of releasing an album, of dropping an album. I hate having to participate in social media. I hate like the marketing rollouts that people have to do. And by definition, because of that, I think she deals with a lot of like a psychological thing about being a musician and what that means and what that entails, to the point where like she's talked about this being not just her last album, but like one of her last musical projects ever. And so while I selfishly hope that's not the case, like Noname is a real one. Like Noname is not in this to like be a musician or be a celebrity. She's talented. She's got a lot to say, and that's kind of the premise to what she brings out in these things. So therefore, you get this album that is, in true Noname fashion, very political. Features a lot of conscious rap artists and lyrics, and features Jay Electronica's on some parts of the mix. You got Common in some parts of the mix. Like, it is definitely like a tour de force of a lot of things going on, and while not perfect, I enjoyed listening to this record a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it a bit. I mean, I really like the way, like, especially like the features and stuff. Like Balloons is probably my favorite track on the record, I'd say.
One of my favorites too.
Yeah, with Jay Electronica, Aaron Allen Kane. I really like the way that Noname was up and rapping and flowing with other rappers too, because like on with Room 25 and other projects and stuff that she's released, like I feel like that was one thing that I wanted to see her do, was to really like go up with different rappers, go up with different artists, and really see what you can do with other people and see if you can make a cohesive record on that. And she does that on Sundial. And that was one thing that I really wanted to see. And you get that on this record really well. Like Balloons is fantastic, and I love the flow of it and stuff, and the going back and forth on it was really good. Production on the album is stellar. It's really, it's understated, but it's super complex at the same time, which I know is
that's a way to describe an album.
It's a way to describe,
and invites some more detail.
Yeah, I mean it does, because like in the words of John, there's loads to listen to, but you have to really pay attention to it, right? It's not just going to show it and throw it into your face, but there is a lot to digest with this, even though it's pretty short with 11 songs, 31 minutes long, which fits perfectly in a record of this decade and of this year of our Lord. Even like the little interlude thing, which I love. Potentially the interlude, by the way.
Ooh.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah,
I love.
This is where you get. I'm gonna let you finish, I promise. But like, this is where you get the thing I was talking about earlier, where like Noname fundamentally hates being a musician in the modern time. And like she has a lot of feelings about that, and it comes through that interlude very well.
Exactly, and that's what I like about it, because she just calls it out as it is. She's like, why do I have to do all this shit? Like, can I just release music as is and stuff? And it's really cool that, you know, she does that with that. And then I love the way that you do that with potentially the interlude. You know, Damon, I'm looking at you. Yeah,
there's references in that song and a number of other songs. Like, that's not the first Kendrick reference, it's not the last one, but like, it's a specific sort of thing where Noname is self-aware in that if she was either less conscious, let's say, or conscious in a particular way. I think one line in potentially the interlude, something along the lines of, maybe if you rhymed like Kendrick more, maybe if you like did this or that. Again, relating to Kendrick Lamar, name dropping him. In this time a good way, and another time maybe a more critical way, because you get parts of the album that are like criticizing, I think it might even be Namesake, more on that later, where she's talking about Rihanna and Beyonce going, oh, congratulations, you're performing at the Super Bowl while the military industrial complex flies their jets over the stadium, like all these other different things, like
I'm like, god damn.
Justice for a Palestinian man who was killed by the IDF, like there's some again, Noname is not losing her category as the woke award in this year, not at all.
When she busted that one out, I was like, "Oh, she's going after Big Israel, man." best of luck to you, girl. Got my full support.
Thank you for saying Big Israel, not something else. But yeah, no, it's what you expect from Noname, and yeah, you get. Before I kind of cut you off a little bit earlier, you do get a lot of stuff about, like, she's sick of being an artist. She's sick of having to do this kind of performance, and she just hates the fact that she can't just be herself, which is very talented and is very good, and just, like, succeed. Not that like, preempts or deserves success, but there's definitely a lot of unnecessary hurdles you have to jump through in order to be discovered or be relevant, and a lot of those involve being acceptable to a very, and again, I'm not even trying to like dance around the C-word island here, like it's being acceptable in the context of the mainstream music industry, which usually means like not pissing off the white power establishment, but also usually means like keeping it a little bit less political even than this, being a little more pop focused, like throwing a couple pop songs in here. And I do appreciate that, like, while she has that self-awareness, she's like, yeah, I understand it. That being said, I don't care, and I'm going to do my art. And I'm not going to, like, try to make any pop hits in here, even though you do have some great songs in here. I could talk about them, but I'll let you continue.
No, you can continue with that, because that's
what
I was
going to say. Namesake is, like, one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, exactly. Namesake is one of my favorites, too. I still think Balloons might be my favorite. Namesake is a pretty close second. Just, I really like that beat. Again, like what I said earlier, where it's understated but complex with the production of it. There's a lot to listen to, but if you put it in the background and you don't pay attention to it, it can kind of be like almost just like background noise in a way, but then you really get to the meat and potatoes of the track. You're like, wow, there's a lot with that. And then you just hear her flows, and you gotta pop up the lyrics, because there's just so much shit going at it. She's going so fast. It's very, very, very dense. So you sit there and you go, oh my god, there's so much into this, and it's fantastic with the way that, just the way that she puts it out, and is very honest, brutally honest, which I really admire in an artist.
Yeah, I guess I'll mention it right now because it's relevant enough. In that one thing I was seeing, I don't even know if I sent this to you actually, but Tucky Monster, who we've discussed on Audioface, like a incredible woman, I guess, like, you know, female to be grammatically correct, like an incredible like female DJ, electronic music artist. You know, she's been quiet, she's been kind of been doing her own thing, and like we're talking about episode 278 of Audioface, episode 18 of Audioface, with Tammy, that you can check out in the archives. You can join Audioface and get access to the archives by going to join.syndicate23.co. But we talked about how Tucky Monster, just to keep it like snappy, she basically got her like brain replaced and relearned how to do music through like a serious like medical situation, and she like came back to music bigger, bolder, better. And yeah, we talked about a lot of like perseverance in music that, you know, a lot of artists go through, a lot of women artists go through, like especially Talkie Monster, and like having to relearn the art of music after something traumatic like that. But she released some music. We're gonna do like a good new singles block next week to kind of get into this and some other things we want to talk about, especially some folks on Lyrics and Legos. Check out Lyrics and Legos on the youtube.com/audiofacepod channel. But she released a new single, and she was like, in the comments section, she was complaining about, I hate how on social media, if you don't post after a while, your first post is like you literally get punished by the algorithm for not constantly contributing to this churn of, and we all hate social media inherently. This is the most like, we hate social media, all my homies hate social media, period, where we realize that we're being served crap on these platforms. These algorithms are not really, in most cases, they're not really providing us with good content. So a lot of people are just, especially with Twitter disintegrating, especially with, you know, Meta and a bunch of other things disintegrating, people are just like quitting social media altogether and reevaluating their media diet, which I think is great for folks' mental health. But in the point of music and what we're talking about with Noname and Talkie Monster, it's a lot about how hating that you have to be a musician, to be, it's not just enough to like be talented and put some stuff out there and like work really hard to continuously put good stuff out there. You also have to play this like BS social media game, because thanks to, not fully the fault of, but definitely an accelerant was the clout era of SoundCloud rap. We had people like Lil Pump and all the SoundCloud rappers doing dramatic, dumb things for attention. It's not new in music, but it's definitely like a more recent thing. And by gaming social media like that, even though they're objectively bad musicians, they were able to get a lot of attention for their music and get a lot of streams for their music and get a lot of just, you know, like bog standard music fans as a result. And so Talkie Monster was complaining about that. She was like, it shouldn't have to be this way. We should try to push for something. We should try to push for a better stake for artists. And Noname has a lot of that in her album, but she's also like, kind of like I said earlier, I also don't give a good goddamn. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want to regardless.
And that's something I respect with her too, where she goes, you know, example, the pop aspect, where she goes, you know, fuck that, I'm going to do what I want to do. I love that, right? Just be you as an artist, try different things, and if you just stick true to yourself, right? Don't have the pressures of everybody else make you do something that you don't necessarily want to do, especially on a record that is your record at the end of the day. So I think this is a fantastic record. It's, even though it's, you know, only 31 minutes, it is very dense, and there's just so much to pick apart. I mean, we could talk about this record for a goddamn hour, but I would need to listen to it a lot more just to dissect every little thing that's in this record.
Yeah, even having given like 3 strong listens to this record, there's a lot to dig into.
So
and
much.
I'm sure you said it in the beginning, but this is just 31 minutes long. It's very digestible.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like example, Namesake. Like for a 3-minute track, it's just, there's so much to pick apart with that, where you got to sit down and really get into it. So, but overall, I think it's fantastic work from Noname. Really solidified. Right, Dan's future wife here.
I almost tweeted this and like tagged her, and I might still do this because I just don't care at this point. I would give my left nut to ask for her hand in marriage. I'm not kidding.
Dan's.
I would go full Armstrong to get like a coffee date with Noname.
Never go full Armstrong. Dan's future ex-wife, Noname.
Is the coffee juicing?
It's the coffee juicing. It's the album juicing.
But yes. Continue.
That's it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's gonna take me even another 3-4 listens to get through it. So but overall, fantastic fucking record.
So many lyrics, so many references. It's great stuff. And so I said the last thing I'll kind of end on, I guess, like some of my criticisms. Don't worry, baby, I still love you. No. But like for like, yes, as an album, I would talk about this anyways, even with like even like biases notwithstanding, the things that she complained about with the music industry notwithstanding, I think most albums, I would say, I expect some songs that even if you don't care about being a pop hit, I would love if she tried to make some songs that sound like a little bit more like a pop hit. And you get some moments that are pretty close with a lot of the features. Like I said, Namesake can't sing high praise enough for, even though she's not trying to make an album with pop hits, and that's just like not Name style and never was. Maybe it's the conscious rap thing, maybe it's the flow a little bit, and like I think her flow is really good and she's really talented, but it does feel a little bit, like the rhyme scheme, the rhyme signature does feel a little bit like almost like an MF Doom label, like of a certain time, like of the late 90s, early aughts type thing. I think that'd be my biggest main criticism is that like with her flow, again, being all talented, it does sound a little bit dated already. And being like conscious rap at a time where, that just like isn't the thing that people do doesn't necessarily help it. But I mean, I personally don't mind that. And I think you can have like modern and new conscious rap and people shouldn't just automatically discount that for being what it is. And yeah, I can nitpick a little bit here and there, but I generally like this record.
Yeah, you and me both. All right, arbitrary scale this week. We do arbitrary scales every week because our review is our review. If we gave you an actual ranking, that would not do our review justice. Listen to our shit to get our opinions.
Justice, not jungle, justice. My mistake I made earlier.
Yes.
Purely inside joke, yes.
So arbitrary scales, artists stealing government loans.
More on that in a different segment on Audioface if you're watching on demand or just watching this clip. But if you're watching this episode, more on that later. So yeah, artists stealing tax money from the government. I do not even know where to start on here.
This is absolutely Smashing Pumpkins 8.6 million. Because seeing William Patrick Corgan fucking stealing money like that is hilarious.
Fun for the whole family, truly.
That's just funny to me. That's really funny to me.
This is going to be, and I understand exactly what I'm doing when I say this, is going to be Chris Brown, who got 10 mil from this program. And
everyone's favorite beater.
And my imaginary marriage to Noname is officially over.
I told you, future ex-wife. So now you're on the X already. Damn, it's quick.
Oh man, yeah. Also, do you see the GIF at the top where you see like Chris Brown and like the money thing they put on the Insider article? It's very funny. It's very funny. But yeah, that's gonna be that. Why? I'm not really gonna explain it because it's an arbitrary scale. God damn it.
I love
Anyways, next album we've got.
Ooh.
That works.
Yeah, we have Volcano by Jungle, not Justice. It is 14 songs, 44 minutes long. Jungle, fantastic group. That we reviewed what? 2 of the records. The one Loving in Stereo, Loving in Stereo in 2021. And then
I'm not even sure if we did Forever.
Did we do Forever? We had
I don't know if I don't think we did, but I know we've talked about Jungle even before reviewing that last record. Jungle is definitely a big fave of Ghost producer Kyle on the Audioface team. Shout out to everyone on the Audioface team. But yeah, Jungle have been popping out, old school inspired, modern day playable electronic music adjacent hits, which is like a lot of caveats, but I feel good with that description.
That's honestly a very good description of Jungle.
Welcome to Audioface. So they've been pumping that out it's been years. And they've been remarkably consistent with what they're doing.
Yes.
I think Loving in Stereo was, a little bit of a sleeper hit from last year. I won't even say like, hit is... Sorry, yeah, last year. It's like a few years ago. Well, a couple years ago if we want to get pedantic. You can't spell pedantic without Dan. So there's... from a few years ago, it was kind of a sleeper hit, not in the way where it like, got wild radio play, but kinda. Especially with Keep Moving and a number of other tracks on there.
Yeah.
And like that modern disco style consistent thing they've got going on really works well for them, especially in the post Dan declaring funk is back on the Audioface podcast more than a few to be pedantic, years back. And yeah, it's kind of like really looking at how different artists are approaching electronic music and approaching that style and bringing it to the modern time. So you get to Volcano in 2023, and you get hello traffic. You get a. I guess I'll put some of my cards here on the table. However, I described them earlier, which I can't rewind my brain very perfectly and also technical abuse at the same time. So like I can't really tell you exactly what I think or like like how I described it earlier, but specifically the part or the sentiment I was trying to get at about being consistent. I feel that the dark side to consistency is safety, I guess, and safety first, always a good thing. But in music, when you're a good artist and you're being a little bit too safe, you almost it feels like lost potential, and it feels like more could have been done, and that's going to be kind of a theme of like some of the rest of the albums, I feel like. But like this feels a little bit more safe than I would want a band like Justice to be. Like I feel like it's fine. Jungle, sorry. It's just I'm want. This is a deep want inside me that you can hear, right? But yeah, I wish.
I mean, that's soon, but not yet.
Later. But I wish Jungle, the J word, took a little more. Yeah, just like had a little bit more fun, got a little bit more experimental. We reward that stuff on Audioface. We bask in it on Audioface. And this just felt like, what is the safest route to get to the destination? I'm not going to take any freeways. I'm going to take streets. I'm going to take side streets. Like, I'm going to like guarantee we get to the destination, but in the least fun way that a band like Jungle can do. And I mean that specifically because it's not like this is a fun album. It's not like this is a slow album. It's not like it's a boring album. But this is the nitpick territory of I like Jungle. I think this record is it ticks all the boxes. It clocks in and does the job. But I definitely expect Justice to be able to do more than that.
Jungle, Jesus Christ.
Jungle, god damn it.
I don't think it's that safe necessarily. I think it's I mean, I really enjoyed this record. I think the first two tracks, Us Against the World and Holding On, especially Holding On, I think are fantastic tracks where they really mix that, what you said, Pedantic Dan, earlier of, throwing in old school mixes on a new way of making modern electronic feel. That's what Holding On is. And I love that because it's like, okay, cool. You're getting a modern twist on a sound that you've heard, but put a jungle twist on it necessarily. And even with like their past records, because I feel like as big of, or I mean, as much of a sleeper their previous record was, I feel like Volcano is even a little bit more of like a little bit more than that past record, like not as safe, because I felt like the past record 2 years ago was pretty safe, and I thought, okay, it's for Jungle, because I thought their first two records were fantastic. Their third record was okay to me, and I think Volcano like is a little bit better in that regard, where I don't think it's that safe, basically, is what you're kind of alluding it to. I think because you have songs like Candle Flame, Dominoes, where you have that really funky, fun bass line with that. It's a super cohesive project, but it's still trying to push forward their sound, right? They've been making, what was it? Their self-titled was at 2013, 2014-ish, around there. So, which is insane, yeah. But, it's been a decade that they've been releasing music. And with that, like, you really have a pivotal moment where you're trying to figure out, like, just how much can you do as a group? Just how much can you do with your sound and everything? And I really like Volcano. I think the only kind of complaint I have is I feel like there might be a little bit of filler or random things kind of in the middle of the record, like Don't Play and Every Night, which I feel like are good tracks on their own, but I feel like it dragged it a little bit too long to where you can get into Dan's scene of saying it's playing safe. But I don't necessarily think it's playing safe. I think it's just more of they wanted to make a super cohesive project, and they did that, especially like in that middle Don't Play Every Night Problems. Like they go really well together, but it just drags it on a little too much with that. You could throw in a more experimental track with that if you'd like to kind of keep it flowing a little bit more, or you cut a couple songs out and make this a little bit more of a concise record. And I feel like that then you wouldn't have that necessary criticism of it. But I think it's fantastic. But definitely to me a top heavy record. Like the first 6 tracks I fucking love. I really like a lot. The bottom half is growing on me a little bit more, but that's where another like little critique I have of that.
Yeah, to bolster my argument about them playing it safe, I just happen to be looking at all of the different Jungle records back to back, and there should be an award for like the least amount of change in between album covers for a band.
Oh yeah, other album covers is just their name a different color. Like the 1975 at least switched that up after 3 records. Like they got over that. Jungle's like, we're just gonna keep doing it. At least Jungle doesn't have every album start with Jungle, so at least there's that.
Fair, balanced, and unafraid. Yeah, no, literally, like they've been using the same like .psd file for their album covers for the past decade. They just changed the background. It's literally like me making Audioface thumbnails. I have a template and we just run with it.
Pretty simple.
I mean, like, you know, me, but like any other YouTuber. But yeah, at 44 minutes long, 40 seconds, let's give that a cool 45. That's about the amount of a record we would want in 2023 from Justice. No, I did that time I did it just to fuck with you.
All right, I was gonna say I saw that and I saw your face like leading up to it. And I'm like, okay, this one's a joke. All right,
good. Yeah. But I really, I just realized that I'd had direction stuff. Never mind. But at 44 minutes long, this Jungle record, it runs kind of, you know, a good pace in 2023. I'm not necessarily going to say that like 45 minutes is a long pace for a record.
It's not necessarily long.
But especially this week and especially this month, with artists who have been able to make their statement in as little as 25 minutes, as little as 30 minutes. I mean, this has been a trend especially since the pandemic, where people are able to, I mean, even before then, we had the concept of drops versus albums, where artists are able to...
more on that in a little bit.
Yeah, artists are able to just, like, jump in with their picks, with their hits, like, with their best songs, and then just, like, get out really quickly and really make use of an economy of time. Jungle kind of does that. I mean, shout out to You Ain't No Celebrity featuring Roots Manuva, who is like one of the most forgotten Gorillaz collaborators in history. I was telling your mom the other day about how Audioface has turned me into a Taylor Swift fan and turned me into a Gorillaz hater, which is like the funniest way that could possibly this podcast could become. But anyways, like, yeah, Roots Manuva delivers in that and does really well. Channel Trace does a good job with the record that they're on. Bass at the very end with Pretty Little Thing, I thought I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really good encapsulation to the album. But I can summarize my entire feeling of this record in 2 sentences. One, barring what you just said, in that it does feel a little bit top heavy. The bottom part feels like you have a lot more filler, a lot of stuff that like could have been an EP or like doesn't really jump at you. But like, to underline that point, my main thing is that Jungle has shown me all of these tricks through their past 3 records.
Yeah.
And because of the, kind of like I said earlier, because of those previous tricks, I hold Jungle to a higher standard than I do most artists. And because they came with this new record in 2023, not giving me any new tricks from a band I genuinely like, those are minus points for me.
Fair, but I can see that.
Yeah, it's just like you have a band that you know is like really good. You know they can pull out surprises and like have really like good moments that feel good. And I think you do get that here and there. Like, you mentioned the run of Don't Play Every Night Problems. I really do like Problems. I think that turned out really well. But there's no Like I remember hearing "Keep Moving" for the first time, and like I just like my body like I feel that groove that I got and enjoyed when I heard "Keep Moving" the first time. When I listened to it again, right? Like that's the last time I remember off the top of my mind, at least, Jungle really pulling off that trick. This time it feels a lot less, like committed or executed, right?
Yeah. I definitely want them to really push their sound and artistry further on their next project. Like they really need to do that for their next one, especially. But yeah, overall, let's get into our arbitrary scale. Arbitrary scale this week. So we do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface. So artists stealing government loans. This is one of my favorite ones, honestly. This is great. And you know what this is?
Yeah, I understand. At night, at night in intimate settings. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think about blimp accidents so often.
Dude, blimp accidents is where it at, man. Ironically, side note, I was flying back from Compton because I like to do traffic pattern there with my students, and I saw on my radar there was like a blip, and I never saw that call sign ever. I don't remember what it is, but I was like, why does it say it's on the ground? I'm like, what the fuck? And I realized it was a Goodyear blimp. And then it took off like right after, and I was like, and then immediately I was like, blimp accidents.
Just saying. No FCC. Just saying. Also,
this is absolute Vampire Weekend, by the way. 8.3 million for Vampire Weekend, which is fucking absurd. That Vampire Weekend stole 8.3 bags. 8.3 for Vampire fucking
8.3
Weekend,
large,
which is ridiculous.
I have something in some ways less ridiculous, in some ways more. Nickelback for $2 million.
That's comical.
Like, that's fun for the whole family.
That really is.
I will also say, just to buttress your Vampire Weekend point, Vampire Weekend's manager, Monotone Inc., also received, I'd round that to $3 million, so it's like $3.0 million. So the entire Vampire Weekend affair made about $11.3 million from the government.
That is absurd.
And that's more than Ursher Baby, which is $3.1 million. To which I say, wouldn't let that shit happen to me, though.
No.
Unless except we did, because we're taxpayers. So
yeah, there's that.
Last little lingering things from that album review. I did really enjoy, what was the song? Back on 74. That was the closest.
Yeah, that was good.
That was the closest thing to a Justice magical moment, me getting again, because it was very nostalgic. It was very old school, but I've felt that moment on Justice records before. So, again, I love them. I'm not criticizing them this is ass, this is trash. I don't like it, but it's still, I expect better from a band that I know can do better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
All right. Last album review. Is this an album or a drop?
Dealer's choice.
Honestly, I feel like it's more a drop because.
But also, I would argue, Noname has done nothing. Sorry, Noname. There I go again. Okay, Jungle and Justice was a little bit closer, but I really don't know.
Noname and Emotional Oranges are very fucking different.
I don't know where that came from. In my defense, I am trying to control things at the same time. But anyways, Emotional Oranges
have made a lot of drops.
Give me the specs. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, so we'll review Still Emo by Emotional Oranges, 8 songs, 25 minutes long. To be fair,
to go back to that, Emotional Oranges have never released an album by our definition. So I'm willing to call it an album, considering this is what an Emotional Oranges album is.
Yeah, I guess the closest one is their first release, which is The Juices Volume 1, which is almost 30 minutes, I would say.
The Juice is loose. I mean, that's 27 minutes, and this is 24, like you said? 25?
Yeah.
I think those are in the exact same ballpark, honestly.
It's that awkward thing. But I mean, that's what they do. That's what they release. So it's just
You're one of the artists
25
you
minute
brought
projects.
up. One of the artists you brought up on Audioface and music recommendations many years back. Great
Yeah,
pick.
about 5 years ago, maybe whenever I heard their first release. Yeah, Emotional Oranges duo where it's interesting. I think she's the vocal coach of fuck, is like Beyonce or something like that, and the lead guy is one of Drake's producers. So, and they met and they made their own group. Their first project, which is the Juices Volume 1, was fan-fucking-tastic. I really liked that project back in 2019. And since then, I've been chasing that high ever since. Because like the Juices Volume 2 was okay. I felt like it was pretty flat compared to the Juice Volume 1. The Juice Box, which we reviewed in 2021, I thought was a step in the right direction, but everybody like it had so many features on that. I mean, you had Vince Staples, Becky G, like a fuck ton of people.
Child.
I thought, all right, child. It was a little incohesive with that, but I thought there was some good stuff. And the Juices Volume 3, which was last year, which I mentioned on like Quick Hits, or not Quick Hits, but whatever it was,
Like music.
whatever the fuck we call it. Yep. I thought was okay as well, but now it's still emo this year. We get more of like lounge music from Emotional Oranges, which is interesting, I would say. Like, they're really known for their neo-pop, infused with trap and B and a couple other sounds that they really do well. And with still emo, it's interesting with this one because I feel like the past couple records, like they were already slowing it down a lot. It was still emo. They slowed it down even more, which is interesting. Ron Hands, the opening track, sounds like Emotional Oranges. Like you hear that, I'm like, okay, like I can get on board with this. It's nothing spectacular, but it's something that I'm familiar with them, with how they sound and stuff. You get Be Somebody with Takema Diza, which I think is a decent track too. And then it kind of gets to this middle part where it's just really flat, honestly. And I'm like, I really like their first project a lot. And I'm still chasing that high ever since. I feel like it's just, I don't know if like this they don't have enough ideas or whatnot, but this project also feels flat to me, just like their previous three ones that I've heard, like Justified, Olympics, Not Worthy, which is where they really get to this like lounge music style thing, which is okay, but it's like it doesn't even hit it for me. And where I really got disappointed was Not Like This featuring Zoo, an artist that we fucking adore on Audioface and like a lot. I thought that track, I got there and I was like, it's okay, but it's nothing spectacular. And I know like they have it in them. So exactly. This record is the definition of
It just means
boy, what did I say? Tell you people, I ain't saying nothing.
Change the way you hydrate, brother. I got the emotional orange juice. I got the emotional orange plates. I got
the most oranges towels.
I got the no-name. I'm fucking with you again. But yeah, I will say this to be a little bit contrarian to what you said.
Go ahead.
I liked Not Like This, the Zoo track, more than I thought I would. Because my issue with Zoo, like artists I really enjoy, was that like
he was getting a little flat.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to how I feel about Disclosure. Love Disclosure, one of my favorite artists. But I was begging and am glad that their most recent record was a little bit of a branch out from the usual like Disclosure standard sound. Yes. Like Disclosure is the trademark sound. They've literally had it for a decade at this point, decade plus really. And yeah, they've made themselves distinct in EDM, a genre which maybe next to, I guess you could say it's about all genres inherently, but I feel this with rap especially, but definitely with EDM probably the most, is one of the harder genres to stand out in. Like there's the most opportunity to, because so much of it sounds very similar, but EDM might be again, like kind of next to rap, depending on the day, like one of the more formulaic genres that's popular that's out there, right? And so Zoo, I listened to this track and I was like, this is great for Zoo, at least, right? Like
For Zoo, for sure.
yeah, because it sounded Zoo enough for me to like know where I'm talking about, know where I'm from. Like it has his characteristic voice, it kind of has his characteristic take on electronic music. But with that Emotional Oranges spin, like I think Emotional Oranges are doing what they do best, which is using their aforementioned talents, like you said, where they collaborate with a bunch of really big pop artists. And, you know, other artists that maybe not be like the biggest, but you still get a lot of sounds and a lot of inspiration from that. They then bring that to their own project in a way that sounds unique, and it really sounds unique for both artists. It sounds like unique for an Emotional Oranges track and unique for a Zoo track. And I think like in the context of the album, maybe you can have a different opinion and I can like ride with that, but I am happy on the Emotional Oranges side and the Zoo side that the track at least sounds like, you know, it sounds different enough for me to think of it as a growth point for both of them. Back to the part where I agree with you, and I'll like kind of not like totally wrap up, but it's also 25 minutes, so in the words of Jeb Bush, give me a break. I can't wait till Ron DeSantis is like the Jeb that we can just make.
Can't wait.
Hungry.
Dude, you lost to Big Disney. Like, damn.
Dude decided to get into a legal battle with Disney. Listen, Carl's gonna be like, y'all on your own, dude.
Yeah, Carl's gonna look at us and be like, "What I tell
Really?
you?" There's three things you don't. There's three things in here: death, taxes, and you can't fight the big mouse.
Carl would give us the never fight a land war in Asia talk with like
Don't invade Russia. Never invade Russia. Just don't. And also, don't invade Afghanistan. Don't. Empires get lost in those two. It's the Bermuda Triangle of empires.
And also, don't invade Disney. It's the Bermuda,
Just don't.
It's the Bermuda Triangle of your money. Whether you're going to Disneyland or you're going to court, like it is the Bermuda Triangle for your money. So, that was somehow related to Emotional Oranges, but I'm less able to draw the tangent. Anyways, that was kind of a high point for this project, but I think overall
It's still flat.
Yeah, it's a little bit flat. I will say, you know, maybe it's just, you know, the mood, the hornies, but the Ayana track, Olympics, like, I think that's a really good, like, sensual track. I think that can work in a number of different contexts, not necessarily like a sensual one. But I liked at least, like, the wordplay and lyricism in that and a number of other parts of the record. I would definitely say that when they do bring collaborators on here, it's memorable is a strong word because the other Emotional Oranges records do that better. But I think the features on here deliver decently. But yeah, it's weird because usually we're like, hey, if you have a drop, we like that because just get in and get out with your musical point and like make it happen. But I guess this has happened with a number of artists before where that comes with this following downside, that if you aren't giving enough in that project, we then start to look at it like this is only 25 minutes and there's nothing in this that like truly sings to the level of like, okay, this is like a really solid, this is a really memorable piece. And so
Right.
that's exactly how I'm feeling. At 25 minutes in, I'm like, there were a number of opportunities and it could have been a good economy of time to just like maybe tweak these songs and give us some more like wow moments within it. But yeah, it's not there, unfortunately.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Still chasing the high ever since. Arbitrary scale this week. Arbitrary scales.
Dan's old take on meth. One more time.
Oh, just one more time, man. Just like let me try it. Arbitrary scale this week is artists stealing government loans, and this is absolutely 100%. John Tillman, also known as Father John Misty, stealing $1.7 million.
Brother.
I think that's. I mean, this is why he left Fleet Foxes was to steal government loans. You know, Robin Pecknold would be like, fuck that, you're out of here, dude.
This is gonna be my most Pallone. This is gonna be Posty. This is gonna be my
Posty, Ribcage himself.
Yeah, this is gonna be like, you know, perfectly average mid style type of stuff right here. I really want to like the Emotional Oranges track a lot more, but ultimately it just wasn't the sauce.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. So we head into the news in my best James May impression. And what we've got from here are a number of funny things. One is, so I guess we kind of had a little bit of this conversation, and we don't need to go into a big thing with this at all. I'm not trying to do that. But usually around this time, we would have an episode, or at least a segment of our standard Audioface devoted towards deciding the song of the summer. I almost said Sean of the summer. So this is just, I'm great. I'm doing fine. I just really cannot words good this episode. I'll be real.
You dude, your words are worse than mine, and
it is hilarious right now. Again, thankfully you're hosting. So even though I'm botching it all the time because I fucking talk all the time, then it's still happening. But usually we do Song of the Summer right around this time because by August you can kind of figure it out. And COVID, as with a lot of things, kind of changed that because there wasn't really a way to. I mean, there was some rough times, not just COVID. There was a presidential election. There were major civil rights protests going on. Like, it was not really the Song of the Summer vibe unless it was maybe that Tyler, the Creator song that's like, kill people, burn stuff, F school. But like, this summer has not really felt like it has like a true Song of the Summer vibe and sound, and we can get into that for a number of reasons. We can like be really quick about that, but another thing that at least some unnamed people in the music industry are talking about is that they're worried that it's becoming more impossible to find a hit. It's becoming more impossible to find hitmaker artists, to be more specific, ones who, as the recent examples, in fact, like this article that was making the rounds was from Billboard, and some folks talked to Billboard and they said that, look, essentially, other than Olivia Rodrigo and Ice Spice for the 2020s and maybe like the late 2010s, they haven't really the music industry hasn't really discovered and lifted up a successful pop star. And at least the people who do those things, I guess like the industry planters, so to speak, as opposed to the plantees, they're saying that they're having a harder time doing this. And there were a lot of like hilarious kind of quotes in here. I'm going to try to see if I can find some while I get your thoughts. But I oh yeah, there's one comment on Twitter that I think was like really, there's a lot of like Twitter brain discourse that was like, oh, it's hard for new artists to be found, and I think like part of the reason we'll give into, and I want you to jump in on this, is like how these tastemakers in the music industry, to be kind of polite, are kind of creating a framework for what a pop artist should be within their heads, partially out of experience. That's their job, to like make good picks. But I think that by limiting what they believe a pop artist can be or should be, they are doing themselves like the greatest, like what's like the cardinal sin of Audioface, saying that music sucks. Music does not suck. You have to try a little bit harder to find it, but there's great music of all genres coming out all the time, and it's at such a high volume. You're like, the curation thing is something that even all these streaming services don't really do that well. So you need real life human people, even sometimes the folks who criticize like Pitchfork, Anthony Fantano, etc. You need human curators still to sift through it as best they can and kind of offer some good things. These human curators are in the music industry, but I think that they're falling into that same cardinal sin of they're looking for a particular thing, or they're looking for an old style, and because they're not finding it that easily within their own head's framework, they are then going out and saying, oh wow, there's just no pop stars anymore. Like, it's so hard to find a pop star. Like, no one is making pop star caliber music to where I can, like seed them and grow them and make them like a pop star to an Olivia Rodrigo or Ice Spice level. I could go a number of different ways with this, but yeah, like I said, I want your thoughts.
It just depends. Well, I mean, that's the whole reason why we made this fucking podcast in the first place, is saying, hey, like, there's great music out there. There are great artists. You just need to, you have to, unfortunately, dig to find them. And that's the whole point of us doing this is, hey, here are these great artists. there, you can go listen to them. This is what we think of them, and if we like it, we don't like it, we will still put it on here. Even artists that we enjoy a lot. I mean, look at Emotion Oranges. Like, you would have never really heard of them sans like this podcast. There's so many artists that I would never have heard of sans this podcast, right? So, and with that alone, just saying that, like, I don't necessarily agree with that, or it's like, oh, it's hard to find pop artists. I think it's hard to find music in general, I think, is more the prevalent case to this, because there's pop stars. I mean, Bad Bunny's been out in the Latin scene for a long time, but look how he's exploded the past 2 years into as a modern pop star, right? And there's plenty of different artists and stuff that have done that, and pretty recently. One of our favorites, Billie Eilish. Look, she came out of pretty much fucking nowhere and is rocketed.
I'm sorry. I gotta stop you right there. Like, Billie Eilish is like one of the closer things to an industry plant we've had. Like, not fully. I think she's talented on her own merits. I think she's very good. But like, her family is in the industry. Her family is in the business. They were able to put her in the right places. She was born in like Los Angeles, in like the cradle of Hollywood. Like, I'd say compared to
but what I'm saying is what they put. They put Olivia Rodrigo and Ice Spice, and both of those are pretty much industry plants in a way. So, like, Olivia Rodrigo literally through the Disney Channel and shit. Like,
I give you that. Ice Spice,
Big Mouse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and Ice Spice. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I give you both of those. Olivia Rodrigo, Big Mouse, nothing more to be said. Ice Spice, the come up and the way she came into prominence. And let's say some unpopular opinion on Audioface. She is a female rapper who does like New York drill-ish grime, like inspired music, which is like different enough for trap music, but hard to differentiate considering she's like continued to make songs that are essentially a riff off of the same beat. Like, you could listen.
Oh, absolutely. Literally, like they're the same recycled.
You could look at Munch, and then you can look at that the Barbie track that she did with Nicki Minaj for the movie, and it's like, it's just, this producer is phoning it in, like running the same beat till the wheels fall off like a Toyota BZ4X.
Control C, Control V, baby. just keep going.
Command for our Apple friends out there. Again, Audioface, we've converted a little bit. We're a polyamorous house. We do PC and Mac.
We are.
Yes.
I mean, we got Pixels, we got iPhones. We got
Xbox and a Cutterbox. All the kids is welcome.
All the kids welcome, motherfucker. But alluding back to my old point of, it's more the music, I feel like, than necessarily like pop artist. I feel like in the streaming age, it's hard to discover new music in general than necessarily, I can't find me a pop artist. I'd be like, they're out there. It's more because of the way that streaming is, because of the way that everybody consumes music now. We're still trying to figure it out. Like, it's relatively new still. The past decade. I remember when I first got Spotify, back in 2011, people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm over Apple Music. And shout out Justin, ironically, for our friend Justin, for showing me Spotify. The very first person I ever met who fucking was streaming music back in 2011.
Oh, Justin's like a secret creator of Audioface. He's put me on to like a lot. Like, Queens of the Stone Age is like one of my favorite, from doing this podcast, one of my favorite bands. That's something Justin showed me. I love like this. We also mentioned U2 earlier in this podcast. That's hilarious. We could do, and I think we did in the past, but like we could do an entire other segment of like where Apple went wrong with streaming. But Apple definitely went wrong with streaming, and they allowed Spotify to exist. And I to your point of kind of what I was saying earlier, there's a lot of music out there. You just kind of have to curate that. I do see that. What I was kind of getting at with these curators, these people who work in the industry, they are curating music with a cookie cutter, like quite literally. Like they're doing some real Commieland. Like it's like looking at Commieland. I'm not even gonna get too detailed about that because this is really flying close to the sun. But like it's like looking at a housing development where like all the houses look the same, right? And it's going, okay, it needs to be a 2-story or like a 3-story Spanish style house or something like that, right? And like this is all a house can be. You can't have townhomes, you can't have 2 or 1-story, you can't have apartments. Like it needs to be this. It's a cookie cutter view of music. So like basically you need a conventionally attractive woman in order to sell albums and sell tracks. Because these tastemakers is kind of nice, but that's really what they are. They work in the music industry. They're picking and curating. It's kind of like what A&R kind of is, but like they're picking and curating artists to lift up and amplify up, and that is a very big power to have. Again, like even stronger than an algorithm. Just working for one of the big music companies and going like, I'm gonna pick up this person, or I'm gonna pick this nepo baby who like their parents also work for the company here. You know, it happens in a lot of different ways, right? Or I'm gonna pick, you know, like Migos and Cardi B. They were not industry plants, but they were picked by these larger record companies because they could represent, they could be a pop representation of the streets. So it was a very marketable thing there. But I think like because, again, yes, their job was to look for marketable things, but this goes back to like the brain broken tweet I told you about in our group chat, where it was like, where are the ugly pop stars? Is it possible for pop stars to like be ugly and make music? Or like, where are the ugly musicians? Can someone like uplift the ugly musicians? And like, I'm not going to put anyone on blast here by like saying like a musician.
I'm absolutely putting Tom York on blast, because that is, in the words of Bam, he goes, that's the ugliest man in rock and roll right there. And I'm like, absolutely, Willie Nelson looking ass, but makes some of the best music ever.
Oh, there's a ton of people who would hit Tom York, like even Zaddy face Tom York. Like there's a lot. There's like from fat ugly dead Tom York to a moon shaped pool Tom York. There's a lot of people who are lining up for that. All right, so like I'm not gonna get into that game.
Ugly dead Tom York. I'm fucking crying. That is 8 levels deep of Radiohead. That's
8 levels deep of Audioface for the Radiohead Audioface, huh? Yeah, it's very deep. There's levels to this, right? But I think like this comes back to like our criticism with Fantano, our criticism that we've made a lot. Like another Audioface like creed is that there's so much good music it would make your head spin to do a Trump thing, right? It's out there, you just gotta find it. And to that point of, yeah, I do expect as an A&R type person to, yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle to find an artist who not only sounds good, but Noname, for example, to bring a recent thing that we talked about in this episode, 278 of Audioface. Noname may not be someone you pick to be like, we're gonna make you Ice Spice now, even though they're mad talented, because like Noname doesn't want it. Like there are artists who just don't want to be that big, who maybe could be marketable, but they don't want to do those things or play by the game that you're talking about. Meanwhile, you can have like a Vince Staples, who's like kind of bubbled underneath the surface. He's gotten some like really good and big breaks here or there, but I don't think, and even he would not really consider himself to be like a mainstream smash hit like Kendrick level artist, like a, you know, Baby Keem level artist, right? So I guess this is sort of my last like point, and I wonder like what you think about this. Is it partially the fans' fault? Like, is it partially like music consumers and the way we consume music? Because like, yeah, these are artists who have talent and they get a lot of streams, and you know, maybe they're not the most marketable, maybe not like doing dumb things. They're like doing the most like marketable things. Like, I remember when City Girls were like a really popular thing, and they make like absolute like dog dookie music, but they were constantly on Shade Room and Academics and all the hip hop blogs, and so they got attention through that, and you know, they got marketability through that, through the music industry. I think that the music industry, and I would love it because they do have their thumb on the scales a little bit, if they could do a little bit of curation to not just go for the lowest common denominator, like what's going to get likes on the Shade Room's Instagram account, and instead of just like, is this a good artist? Do they have like a decent amount of stage presence to like be able to work it into? And can they be, you know, a marketable asset? Because what they're ultimately looking for here is like, can we build it up to the point where like this can be a Taylor Swift, Beyonce arena tour style, like selling out kind of artist. Will people feel motivated to buy merch from this artist? Will people feel motivated to like represent this artist? And once you involve business into like any kind of art, you just like make it a little bit shittier. But I do wonder, like, what's the chicken and egg thing? Like, is it the fans to some extent? Not to like blame fans, but like, is it that we accept shit? like, what's your thoughts? And I think we can like wrap up this part there.
I mean, we play with the cards that we're dealt with. Really, I feel like as consumers. Also, I think the issue is the music literacy is not very high, especially in the United States. I feel like, because a lot of people say like this is good and it's objectively really shit music.
See the lost classical music episode with Sean.
Still butthurt about that one. But I mean, there are artists who have kind of come out of the shadows to become great ones. I mean, the number one, who is the number one artist on Spotify? XO Abel.
I thought we were gonna talk about XXXTentacion again.
No. We're not talking. We're not. I'm not gonna say that.
Abel, aka The Weeknd, aka thanks to HBO's The Idol, the best pillow talker in the music industry.
the best porn star in America. Thanks, Canadian Abel. But I mean, he started his
Peter North Tessafaye or whatever.
Jesus Christ. He started just uploading his stuff on SoundCloud and everything, and just gained a following from that. Released, what was it, House of Balloons, his first project in 2011.
Man, I all the jokes I gave to The Weeknd, I don't like fully tear up, but I get emotional looking at those first Weeknd sets where he's performing like these random rooms in like San Francisco.
Oh, fucking
or like
small.
In Canada, and it's just like. It's like seeing some pictures from the first Taylor Swift shows, because both of them are arena sellers. Like they will knock out any arena in any major town like 3 nights in a row, minimum for Taylor Swift, easily. Right? Like yeah,
and both of them came from pretty much really nowhere. They just built it up themselves and stuff. So
exactly, yes.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that still is possible and everything. And it's like it doesn't always need to be industry plans. It doesn't need to always be this crap. What you need to have is you could be genuinely talented and have a voice, not necessarily like literally a good voice, but have like your own artistry and stuff that if you get lucky, sometimes that can happen where you can gain a following and just balloon yourself into stardom. And that's what both those, some of the top artists in the world have done. And then obviously you have your pop stars, which are industry plants and stuff that you see. But I think it's more at least with consumers, it's the cards that we're dealt with in that regard. Because again, literacy is not very big, at least in the States, with music consumption and everything. So, but let's move on. We talked about that one for quite a while.
Yeah, I will say that. To end on an optimistic note, because you were kind of saying that, like, there's still the ability for artists to transcend being pick for the music industry. I think now is, like, one of those great times, like we kind of said earlier in the podcast. The social media apps people are kind of tired of. I think people are slowly going towards, they want more quality than quantity. And so that is to say, like, the average, maybe, the average consumer isn't, like the most cultured on music, quote unquote, however we describe that. Again, and we don't want to even be gatekeepy with music either. That's definitely not the intention.
Like our whole point of the podcast is here's music that you might have not heard of.
For everyone. Yeah, like anyone can get into this.
Anyone,
regardless of age. Like I think this is just good music, period. And so therefore people can get into it. Like we're not trying to do that. But now's the time where, kind of like Taylor Swift did, kind of like The Weeknd did, this opportunity opens up every couple of years or so, oftentimes every decade, where you can make a name for yourself outside of being pick-me'd by the music industry. And so that's I think there's an opportunity for artists to do that. I see, living in the LA area and knowing some musicians who are like doing the damn thing, I see that potential and I see that hunger with a lot of folks. And I think that, like kind of using TikTok, kind of using these other platforms, they're able to do that to some extent. But yes, we have talked about that a lot. Now let's get into some fun. Let's get into some pure, clean, wholesome fun. These last two stories are fun. We've been talking about this through the arbitrary scales this week on the podcast, where we talked about the Noname review, the I'm fucking with you, the Jungle review, and Emotional Oranges. Am I messing with you, or did I actually get it wrong? The world may never know. A 1, a 2, a 3. I've gone crazy. So, we have a story out of Insider, Business Insider, etc., where essentially, let me put it on the big board over here. Essentially, you have these artists who didn't use PPP loans, but they used like a similar. I love this animation. Like, great work to Barack Singhi, Mike Hudson, Todd Young, and Rebecca Zisser or whatever for, like, you know, getting this to all happen and work. But Insider did a really good investigative study on musicians who used, it wasn't the PPP loans. To my understanding, it was a specific fund during the pandemic to actually try to preserve the arts, because that was a big thing. We were talking about, okay, if artists and bands can't tour during COVID, and we have a current musician economy where artists need touring in order to, like, function and exist, like, financially and continue to do music, there needs to be some type of stimulus for that. And it was mentioned in a lot of different ways for different artists and different other aspects in music and other aspects in the economy. Like, you just need to stimulate and just give some government money so that this entire industry doesn't bubble over and can outlast the pandemic. So that's what this is for. In 2021, Congress started a program to give grants to arts organizations affected by the pandemic, but Insider did some investigating and found that some of the biggest grants, and again, this was meant to go towards people who are struggling, who might not make it through the pandemic because of their spot in the music industry not being big, all right? So this is supposed to go to some smaller, medium-sized artists, maybe venues, things of that nature. And instead, Insider found that many of these grants went to, like, arena-filling massive musicians. Like, Chris Brown needs a lot of things. One of those things is not, like, he's not broke. He is not broke. Yeah. Post Malone, same thing. Apparently one big name asset management firm was able to secure more than $260 million in grants for its clients. So it was very similar to the PPP thing, where, like, people quickly realized that this was a scheme. Like, this was a thing you could do to be like, hey, before the gate closes, let's run in and stack this paper. Let's get this money real quick.
Insane.
And so, yeah, I want you to jump in here for sure, but this is the chart that we were referencing throughout the show today. Korn got 5.3 million. Padre John Misty got 1.7 million. Vampire Weekend alone, the band alone, got 8.3 million. Through their manager, got another 3 million to make that 11.3 million for that venture. You see also here on here, Becky G, 2.2, Leanne Reams, 2 million, Slipknot, almost 10 million, Smashing Pumpkins, 8.5 million, Common, Lil Wayne, Usher, baby. Like, they are all putting the numbers here.
The thing is that none of them need that fucking money. And it's like, just...
And there are a lot of other artists and a lot of other venues and things that did.
Exactly. And that's the thing that's really frustrating with this. But I mean, that's America, baby. It's late stage capitalism, baby. Of circumventing the thing to get your bag. And just like the PPP loans, like, it's crazy how similar it is.
Yeah. And it's important to be fair. Like, this is usually not the situation where the musicians, like, open up TurboTax, they open up QuickBooks, and they're like, okay, how do I, Post Malone, do this? Like, they have enough money so that they have people whose job is to find loopholes and figure out how they can make more money. Like, it's like financialization. It's like most other aspects of capitalism where, like on Power Report, folks are talking about #NoPolitics. Folks are talking about the writer strikes and how these AMPTP, which represents the producers, which ends up representing, like, the big streaming platforms like Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery, so like HBO Max, all these other different platforms, they are big as. And so as a result of being big as, they are able to grow out and branch out and find new ways of making stupid amounts of money. And so, yeah, again, like, it's not Chris Brown opening up his MacBook and, like, Googling how to defraud the government. It's a function and a like a way that capitalism works that makes it so these artists who can afford a lot, and this is just what Insider found, there could even be more, but these artists are able to employ people whose sole job is to find them easy ways to make money. Sometimes it's just like, hey, Father John Misty, you're gonna have to get off that lazy ass and just like start touring, and like that's gonna be the way you make money. And other times it's like, hey, can I put the name of your LLC on this piece of paper, and then like you take a couple of naps over the next 3 weeks, and then you wake up and you get 2 commas in your bank account, right? Like a couple extra commas in your bank account. It can be a number of different ways, but like that is a microcosm of a lot of things that happen in capitalism. And yeah, like people know, the PPP loans was a similar thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, capitalism, baby.
Yep. The Small Business Association. Would have loved some of that money, I'll tell you that. That would have been great for Syndicate 23. But, again, Carl doesn't specialize in that, so I'll give him a break. I do want to play this video. Sorry, I didn't warn you. You may want to, like, as a backup, pull up Twitch in the background in case you need to, like, stream the video in case the Discord pop-up doesn't work.
Yeah.
But, hashtag no politics. Vivek Ramaswamy is a, Vivek Ramaswamy? Sorry, I'm going to try to pronounce that as best I can, at least before I start making fun of him. I'm not going to make fun of him off his name, because that's messed up. Anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy is a Republican presidential candidate. He is running to be defeated by Donald Trump, which is essentially what all presidential candidates not named Donald Trump are doing at this point. And one of his like kind of quirks, he's a little bit of an oddball candidate. He comes from a business background. He's not really like that political. But one of his interesting quirks is that he's a self-proclaimed rapper. He said that he used to do these like raps in high school. In fact, literally like the new favorite thing on the political show The Majority Report that I know a lot of people on the left watch is playing the clip from Fox News where Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to do a freestyle rap, and he rhymes trail with trail as he's rapping live, which honestly, we've let worse fly on Audioface. we've listened to a lot of Lil Yachty's that like might be on the board. But that being said, if you're calling yourself a rapper, even if you happen to be a politician, so we're not gonna like grade you on that scale, don't just like barely clear Lil Yachty on like your rap skills.
That shouldn't be
should not be your barometer.
No.
That being said, it gets worse because not only is he like using the lowest common denominator as an artist to try to like, justify being in this, but he's actually did an Eminem cover. And like Eminem, say whatever you want to, he is one of the lyrical kings of the rap genre over the past 50 years. Like just period, full stop. Like he is incredibly talented. There's no denying that. He's continued doing so. Some might say Eminem has fallen off a little bit, but like, if you're gonna try to cover Eminem, at least like karaoke it, bro. Like have the words in front of you, because that's like you gotta say some lyrics really fast, and you gotta like hit and enunciate like all your stuff real quickly. And basically, what you don't want to do is this, which is awkwardly rapping Eminem in a performance. So give me a little bit so I can try my best to stream this out. But boop. Sound may not be available. Okay, try worse. Hopefully you can hear this. God. There we go. That's how this works. So hopefully you can hear the Sean, or at least you have the Twitch thing in the background.
I have it.
Word. But here we're going to do a little bit, thanks to Mediaite and C-SPAN for getting this clip. But here's Vivek Ramaswamy trying his best to not lose himself.
Loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity, oh, there goes gravity, choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. Oh, he won't rap
So many white people.
It don't matter, he's broke. It don't matter, he's broke. He's so sad that he knows.
He's losing steam. He's losing steam. That's the thing. That's the thing. If you're gonna, in the words of like the famous quote from The Wire, if you come for the king, you best not miss. So like, 20 seconds in, he's starting to fall out of breath, which is a thing you would do with Eminem. But that's what I'm saying. Don't write the I can cover Eminem check if you cannot cash that shit for 30 seconds straight at least. I almost don't. I'll be honest, I cannot make it the full minute 13 this clip is, but I'm going to play like 10 more seconds. But like, because he's starting to peter out and I think it's very funny, but yeah.
Goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again. Yo, this old rhapsody. Better go down to this moment and hope it don't catch you. Lose yourself in the music the moment you
This is literally like me drunk in an Uber with like my friends trying to sing along to the radio song, and I don't know the lyrics at all, and you're just like doing that thing where you like mumble a little bit the stuff you don't know, and then you get all louder during the chorus that everyone knows. Like it's also I want to hear your thoughts right now, but like last thing, this is during the part of the primary season where politicians all of a sudden decide that Iowa matters. It's the only time politicians decide that Iowa matters.
Right.
Because they go to the state fairs, they do stuff like Governor Kim Reynolds' corn-themed fireside chats, like right here. They do these things to try to appeal to Heartland America. And Heartland America, like half of these folks are like leaving right now. Like, okay, this is my cue to leave. You have this lady here who I can assume is maybe Governor Kim Reynolds or like someone there who's just like, what?
Like, this is rough.
Like you're acting real woke right now, as in like black right now. But like you really kind of going off the deep end here. Like I'm not really sure if we really want this. Like there's some people who are like, oh, this is terrible, let me film it. But like I didn't see anyone in the crowd. I'm maybe gonna be mercifully, I'm gonna B-roll this and do some like crowd watching. But no one's really. This isn't Coachella. This isn't a music festival. This isn't even like Sunday evening
They're all just
coffee.
awkwardly standing there, like what's going on?
No
what's
bopping,
happening?
no moving, and like not even to go there. But Eminem's white. Like, come on, this is your guy. Like let's go. Like, you don't have to feel any guilt. You don't have to feel any weirdness about this. Like, just do it. Maybe it's because Eminem is like very staunchly anti-Trump, but you know. Sean, what arbitrary scaled? You don't even have to arbitrary scale this. You can Fantano this one. What did you give this a light to strong like 2? Like what are his
This is rough. This is a solid rough. Like this is what I call 1-800 yikes right here. Like this is. Oof. And on that note, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, on that note. On that note, this has been Vivek Ramaswamy's political career.
Yeah.
You can catch him.
Vivek.
Yeah, you can catch him in mid 2024 as either a CNN or an MSNBC contributor.
Oh, absolutely. Like 100%.
The loser's circle for presidential candidates.
Absolutely coming on MSNBC.
When you don't even podium, that's where you're gonna go. You can at least vote for
you can guarantee a spot in MSNBC there.
Yeah, maybe.
Thanks for this.
Sorry, last thing, because I just love digging. Maybe he joins Andrew Yang's Forward Party, because Vivek Ramaswamy is like the Andrew Yang of the Republican race at this time around. He's like maybe you sell some books, at least sell some books, all right. But in the words of Vivek Ramaswamy's freestyle, we'll see you on the trail. This has been Audioface.
Thanks for listening to Audioface. You can follow the podcast. God damn it, what's it?
All good. Audioface.show.
I always forget this. It's just everything's audioface.show now. That's right.
Yeah, it's okay. Just call it Justice. You can find us at Justice. And you can find all the links at audioface.show, whether you want to listen to the podcast, whether you want to check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/audiofacepod. Become a member at join.syndicate23.co. Get the archives, support what we're doing here and on Power Report. Don't follow us on any social media, honestly. And thank you to the Audioface team, Austin, Kyle, Peter, Sean, just like everyone who's helping to make this all happen. And we will see you on the next episode with more music that mostly matters. Cheers.